Yes, we're all in this now, but our dreams can come true. Sustain our sound, GRCB needs you. All in this now, but our dreams can come true. Sustain our sound, GRCB needs you. Sustain our sound, make it loud. Help us keep up the fight. GRCB, alright. Help us keep up the fight.
Hi everybody, Rainy again. I am going to bring you part 2 today of introduction to the drum set. In my first video, I talked about all the different main parts of the drum set, so just the different names of the drums, how the snare drum works, how the cymbals, what the cymbals are called, and the basic different types that you'll want on a drum set. I didn't get to some of the things I wanted to talk about, and that's great because I didn't realize that I had half an hour worth of talking to do, but it did mean that I have to make this part 2. So some of the things that I didn't get to were talking about different kinds of drumsticks, just so you have an idea of what's out there. Some other tools that you'll need to be able to start playing the drums and make little adjustments if you have a drum set, and also some things that you'll need to practice or that you can use to practice if you don't have a drum set available to you. Or even if you do, you might want these things in addition to them, because I have them and I have a drum set. So first, I'll just talk about sticks a little bit. There are probably 5 million different kinds of drumsticks. It's crazy. There's so many little differences that you can have between them. There's differences in the type of wood, the length, the width of the stick, the type of tip, so the part that you're actually hitting the drum with. And I'm going to show you first. This is kind of a standard, this is kind of a standard drumstick. It's a size 5A. I'll tell you kind of what those sizes mean a bit more, but it's wood. It's got a wood tip here. It's a pretty standard length. Usually drumsticks are between 15 and 16 inches long. Feels good when I hold it, and it's the type of drumstick that you might see if you are at Girls Rock Campaign Boston or one of the other Girls Rock organizations. So any drumstick has some basic parts to it. So this main part here, this is just the shaft or the body of the stick, the main part of the stick, the body of the stick, whatever. The most important part that you're probably going to be thinking about when you choose what kind of drumstick you like is the tip. So the tip is the part generally that hits the drum or the cymbal, okay? And I'm going to try to make it so everything's always right in the shot. Let me see, I'm around front. Yeah, all right, not too bad. So this is a wood tip. As you can see, it's made of wood, just like the rest of the stick, okay? Not all drumstick tips are made of wood, but for right now, that's what we've got. Okay, so there's the shaft of the stick, or the main body of it, the tip, this little part where it goes from small to bigger, okay? The part where it gets to its full size, so you see how it's really small here, it gets bigger and bigger, now it's full size. This is the shoulder. We call this the shoulder of the stick. So if you kind of think about, here's your head and it goes down right to your shoulders, and that's where it gets, to be about the size of the rest of your body. That part's important too, because you may be using that part of the stick to hit either the rim on the drum, so like the side of the drum, or sometimes the cymbals. It's good to hit it with the shoulder of the stick depending on what you're doing. Okay, and the only other real parts to know, this part that is going from small to bigger, where it tapers, sometimes you can call the taper. Some people call that part of the shoulder as well, whatever, doesn't really matter, but I call it the taper because it tapers, okay? It goes from smaller to bigger. The end, you call it the butt of the stick usually. It's the butt, the end of the stick, it's the opposite of the tip of the stick, okay? And that, when I'm holding my drumstick, the butt of the stick is usually gonna be right at the end of my hand, or pretty close to it, okay? So this is a pretty standard stick. I'm not going to show you the pile of drumsticks I have on my floor in this room because it is embarrassing, because there are, I don't even know how many, dozens, hundreds, thousands, millions. There's so many, and they're old and some are broken, and I don't know why I have them. If you have any good craft ideas for me, please encourage me to do that instead of hoarding them. But basically, I keep them. So some of these sticks I've probably had sitting around for 20 years. Sometimes maybe I bought them and I tried them once. I didn't like them that much. But you can just see, okay, here's a little example of some of the different types of drumsticks, drumstick tips. You can see that some of them are nylon. So that plastic tip, that's nylon. We'll talk about that a little bit. There's really big round ones. There's round tips. There's teeny little ones. Whoops. There's this, the most standard one is called, that's an oval tip. So there's an oval, but there's also the acorn tip. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, why do I need to know this? You don't need to worry about it for right now if you're just starting out. However, you know, it does make a difference. It makes a difference how your drum sounds, how your cymbal sounds. It can affect how loud things are. You know, there's a lot of things that impact how loud your playing is, but the drumstick tip and the stick itself can affect that. You may also notice too, okay, that a lot of these, they're different sizes. They're just different lengths, different widths. Put the bottoms all together there. So that's a really big range, right? Okay, so why? Again, because maybe the way that you're playing, you want to have a little bit more reach. So you want to be able to have that little extra inch of drumstick to get to the cymbals a little more easily, or maybe you want it shorter because it feels lighter in your hand. But whatever the case, the best thing you can do is go to a drum store, especially if it's a small local independent drum or music shop. There's always nice people in places like that, and you can try things out. So the best way to figure out what you like is to just try it, okay? But the basic things you need to know: parts of the stick, tip, different types of tips, and the sizes. So let's talk for a second about the sizes. As I said, 5A, so number 5, letter A, is pretty standard. That's a good starter stick. As the numbers get higher, the stick gets skinnier. So a 7A is skinnier. And an 8A, which isn't as common, would be even skinnier. A size 2 stick, so you might see a 2B often. I don't know if any one of these is a 2B. I don't think so. This one's close. I know this one's close, but it's totally something different. Okay, kind of a little bit too thick for me. 2 is going to be thicker, right? So the number's smaller, the stick gets thicker. The letters work the opposite way. So as the letters go up, the stick gets thicker. So, whoa, okay, hang on. That sounds confusing, right? So 5A might be like this. I'm going to exaggerate it. Here's 5A. A 5B will be just a teeny tiny bit thicker. There is no 5D that I know of, but if there were a 5D, it would be just a little bit thicker, right? If you're talking about a 7A stick, it might be like this. Again, I'm exaggerating. Teeny tiny stick. A 7B will be a little bit bigger. If there were a 7D, it would be just a little bit bigger. Okay, so alphabet letters up, size up, numbers up, size down. It makes more sense when you're looking at a bunch of sticks together, I know. I use, where am I? This is my absolute favorite kind of stick. It is a ProMark 719, so it's a little bit bigger than a 7. It's kind of a specialty stick. It's a little longer than most sticks, and it has this really, really big fat round tip on it, so it's really loud. It's also made of oak. I love oak sticks because they're super heavy and loud, okay? A lot of sticks commonly are made of hickory. If you're just starting out, I would recommend trying a hickory drumstick. Try a hickory 5A, okay? So a lot of people get the Vic Firth brand. Oh my gosh, now we're talking about brands, I know. Don't worry about it, see what you like, but Vic Firth Hickory 5A is like the most standard stick that I can think of to start with. For me, for my drumming, I find that hickory breaks really easily because I hit very hard, and I hit the rims of the drums a lot on purpose. I hit the cymbals and I hit the sides of the drum, and eventually I just end up breaking the hickory ones in half. I know people who have played in metal bands for years and never broken a stick. I don't know. I don't understand. It's just how I play. Everyone's a little bit different. So personally, I love oak. Some people don't love oak because they think it's too heavy and they think it slows them down. I don't feel that way, but the only way you're going to know what you like is to try different things, okay? So this is so much information, and we're still only talking about drumsticks. What the heck? Save this video. You can go back, revisit it a little bit, visit your local drum shop, okay? Try starting out with the hickory sticks, 5A, I would recommend, and then, go from there. Don't stress about it. I just want you to know what the options are. Okay, on top of, I didn't talk about why nylon tips. All right, let me talk about it. So, nylon tips, those plastic ones, not only will the tip shape make a difference, but obviously what it's made out of will make a difference. So these nylon sticks have a very bright, sharp sound. So let's see. These are my practice cymbals again with the holes in them, so they're not very loud, but here's the wood tip. Nylon tip. Yeah, you can't tell a difference on these cymbals, but on a more normal, like a ride cymbal, you can really tell a difference, and the nylon ones just have this crisp, clean, bright, exciting sound that I actually really like. The problem is that, again, like the hickory sticks, for me, they break, okay? Not everybody breaks them. They don't work for me, though. So the nylon tips sometimes break right off if you're playing very hard. So a lot of people use them for, like, jazz. They might be using a 7A stick. Remember, it's a little smaller with a nylon tip, so it's very bright and jazzy and nice sounding. I love the way they sound, but I destroy them, so I stopped using them. But that may not be everybody. Okay, so on top of drumsticks, there's so many other things you can hit the drums with. There are these really fun guys right here, okay? Hopefully you can see those decently. These are a type of bundle stick, so you can see there's a bundle of little pieces at the end. Very often made out of wood. No, I probably do have some wood ones buried in that pile, but just take my word for it. Most of them are wood. These ones are plastic. They just have a little bit of a different sound, kind of like the nylon tips versus the wood tips, okay? I think they're really great when I have to play quietly. If I'm playing with somebody with an acoustic guitar in somebody's living room and we have to, not make the neighbors angry, then I might play these bundle sticks, okay? They're nice. Usually you really can get away with having one pair for a while because they last a long time. I mean, you're playing later, you're not breaking them. Okay? I also have, I had a pen. Where did my pen go? I want to make a note. I also have mallets. So these are marching mallets for like a marching bass drum, but I use them sometimes on my drum set. Now, I would not recommend doing that all the time because you will put dents in your drum heads. Maybe you don't care and you just want to change your drum heads a lot. I know changing drum heads we haven't even talked about, but once you're the part of your drum that you're hitting, right? So part up on top, once that wears out, you have to replace it. And these guys are huge, so you're gonna put big dents in them, okay? But they're really loud and they sound awesome and they sound really cool on the cymbals because you can just make these big noises with them. So I usually use these when I'm maybe in a recording studio and I want to make something sound really big and I'm prepared to have to eventually get some new drum heads. So obviously it's not like you're just going to hit it once and put a dent in it, but it'll happen pretty quickly if you're going real heavy. So they're just not like an all the time drumstick for most people. Unless you're Animal from the Muppets, which maybe you are, that's cool. So bundle sticks, brushes, I don't have any brushes right now, but brushes are basically what they sound like. They look like a little wire rake almost that you could rake the yard with. So instead of being a little bundle of stick parts at the end, it's just like it fans out into a little brush, and it's very quiet and it's very jazzy. So if you want to see those, you'll just have to Google wire brushes for drums, because I have no idea where mine went, because I never use them because they're too quiet for me. But they are very, very useful if you're playing either jazz or really quiet rock, and for whatever reason bundle sticks aren't going to cut it for you. Okay, so that's the basics. That's a lot, but that's kind of the point of this video as a part 2, is just to catch up on all those things we missed before. And I want to talk also about some other tools of the trade. Okay, so let me grab a drum key. Hopefully I have a couple up here. I do. I literally have a couple up here. All right, so here's 2 drum keys. I'm going to come around and look at the other side of my iPad here. All right, so see if I can focus on that better. All right, so here's a drum key. It's a little wing shape, easy to turn, and on the bottom, I don't know how well you'll be able to tell, but it's shaped like a square, okay? So it's basically used to turn something square. What could that be? I will tell you. It's a tension rod, okay? These little things, the parts that you twist, like the long screws, they're called tension rods. They're called that because they use tension to hold the drum head onto the drum, okay? So we're not gonna talk about how to change a drum head in this video, because that's its own thing. But having a drum key is the only way you will be able to adjust your drum head if one of these little guys has gotten loose, if one of the tension rods needs to be tightened. It's the only way you'll be able to change the way the drum head sounds, so to make it higher or lower pitched. Bass drum pedals usually, in fact, here's one of them. Bass drum pedals often have things that you need a drum key to adjust. Sometimes they also have parts for a hex key, so like an Allen wrench, which you'll have to get separately, but usually this is really the big thing. You have to have at least one of these. Honestly, you're gonna lose it. Get like 3. They're really cheap. They're usually like $3 if you get a real basic one. You can get like a fancy kind of ratchet turning one that has a handle on it, and like everything else with drums, you can go real fancy if you want to, but you don't have to. Okay, so have a drum key. You can put them on your keychain, keep one in your pocket, put one in your purse, keep it in the side of your shoe, whatever helps you not lose it. At least once a show, when I play a show with my band, somebody's like, oh my gosh, where did my drum key go? Does anybody have one? All right, so you need a drum key. You should have, or you could have, a drum pad. Okay, I have 2. Actually, that's a lie. I have 3, but one is very similar to this one. Okay, so here's my 2 favorite drum pads. These are for practicing on when you cannot be at your drum set, or if you don't have a drum set. They are used widely by people who do marching percussion, so this is a big drumline thing too. And you might say, well, I'm not doing like drumline stuff, right? I'm not in a marching band. I'm just gonna play my drum set. Why do I need one of those? Well, my answer, Rainey's answer, is you need one if you want to take your drumming seriously and you really want to work on what your hands can do. So maybe right in the beginning you just want to kind of, go full animal, and that's cool. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is really great to have one of these around that you can just grab in your bedroom or in your living room. They're not too loud. So this one's actually specifically meant to be quiet, right? So you're not driving your neighbors crazy. And you can just sit here, and these sticks don't even match, but that's fine. Practice doing all that stuff. They're great if you have a bunch of drummers learning a new skill together. Again, you'll see these at Girls Rock or Ladies Rock programs if there's multiple drummers working together, because that way you can still hear each other talk. And the reason I have more than one, I just bought this one recently because I actually was doing some more marching drumming like stuff. So I was practicing you know, doing these specific exercises, and I kept hitting this part of my drum pad, that rim, and it was really annoying. It's really loud, and I needed to sit there and like wail on this thing, and I kept hitting it by accident, and I was like, all right, that's it. I got to get one of the big ones. So this guy right here is all rubber. It's got this really nice bounce to it. Feels great to play on. And if you get one or the other, I definitely recommend getting a rubber one. I kind of wish I hadn't maybe bothered with this one, but that's cool. I still like it. I'm sorry. Okay. That rubber feel is really authentic, and it feels kind of like the drum should when you have your drum head nice and tight. All right, so drum pad, drumsticks, drum keys. What else have we got? I have, don't laugh. Anybody who's about my age or older will definitely know what this is, and they'll say, wow, why don't you just have a super, super old school metronome? I have an old school metronome. It's not as old school as the ones with the little arm that tick back and forth, but it is pretty old school. I just like it because, I don't know, I've had it for a long time, and I don't always like to have my iPad or phone around when I'm practicing. So a metronome, if you're not familiar, is just a machine that beeps or clicks at the same tempo, at the same speed, all right? So it clicks so I can practice. Keeps you real honest. If you think you're playing at the same speed, metronome will let you know. Okay, so I just have a wheel I turn to make it go faster or slower. That's it. Okay, really old school, uses a 9-volt battery. You can also, if you're really just practicing, getting used to playing in time at all, if this is totally new to you, which is awesome, welcome, congratulations. You can also just play along to your favorite song. You know, you can play some White Stripes, Susie and the Banshees, whatever you've got going on, and you can just kind of play along to that. But having a metronome is a really great tool. You can also download an app. You don't need to have this dinosaur metronome like I do. You can get a free app on whatever iPhone, Android. There's websites. If you just go to Google and look up metronome, there's definitely free ones online. I think my favorite is an app that's just, I think it's just called Metronome, or Metronome Pro maybe, but either way it was free and it's awesome. You can just click it and decide how fast you want it to go. You can obviously adjust the volume then, which you can't with this. That's kind of annoying, but it's a really great tool, and you should have at least one. It will help you be awesome, and not just awesome, but like super double awesome. So let's see. What else have we got? I've mentioned drum heads a little bit, just kind of as I've been talking about these other things. The drum head is the part that goes on the drum that you hit, okay? You change them, eventually they get old, they get worn out, they don't sound good anymore. Sometimes they break. If you're really going full ham, you might actually break a drum head. Let me see if I have any examples. I might have some loose drum heads sitting around. Well, actually, I can show you this one, and this will be good enough. So on this snare drum, the snare drum has a white head, so it's a coated drum head. The two basic types of drum heads are clear and coated. This one's clear because you can see through it. This one's coated because you can't, all right? There's some other types you can get into, but those are the most basic differences. Coated or cleared. Coated or clear. I always use a coated drum head for my snare drum. They just sound different. They absorb the sound a little differently. What the heck do I mean by that? Don't worry about it. There's all sorts of fun music and sound science you can learn about, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today. The point is, they just sound really good on a snare drum. Okay, if you looked on these, on all my toms and on the front of my bass drum, they're all clear. So not everybody, but I always use clear drum heads on my toms and on my bass drum because they help me have a bigger, more echoey sound, a little more resonant. So I don't want to put a coated head on my floor tom because it will absorb more of the sounds. Like I said, it would be almost like I was putting a little sweater on it. And I want all that sound to come out. With my snare drum, I don't. Now the reason there's writing all over my snare drum is because I am a lousy cheater, and when I played a show a while back that I had to learn a lot of songs very quickly, I wrote notes. Okay, so don't worry about all the scribbles, that's me. But, hot tip, if you're a cheater too, put notes on your snare drum. There is no shame in that, because eventually you'll change your snare head and nobody will ever know, except all the people you make a YouTube video for. They will know. Okay? So the only other thing you really need to know right now is that there are heads that are meant to be hit. They go on the top of the drum. They're called batter heads, like you're battering it. Okay? There's heads that are not meant to be hit. They're called resonant heads. So the heads that are on the bottom, especially on the bottom of the snare drum, don't hit them. You should not hit them. You'll put a hole through them, or you'll put a big dent. They're thinner, they're more delicate. Pretend they're like a nice little eggshell. And their job is to change how the sound of the drum overall works. Again, sciencey stuff, not getting into it. But there's a lot you can do with that bottom head and how you tune it. I showed you my drum key, right? I put it on all these little tension rods and I turn it to tune it. That's another day. But although you can do a lot with the sound with that bottom head, all it's meant to do is hang out and look pretty and sound pretty, okay? Don't hit it. Batter heads only. That's very important. Okay? Other tools of the trade and things that I wanted to let you know about. A big thing is hearing protection, okay? You need to protect your ears, and I say this as a former speech language pathologist, so speech therapist, right? I have worked with plenty of people who have hearing loss. I protect my ears all the time, but I definitely still have some hearing damage, because it's just, you can't get rid of 20 years of noise exposure, even if you've almost always worn earplugs, right? So start now. I don't care if you're 9 years old or 90 years old, doesn't matter. You need to be protecting your hearing when you're playing, okay? So that means when you're practicing by yourself, when you're practicing with a group. I'm not talking about if you're playing on these quiet little practice cymbals and you've got like a sweater thrown over your snare drum and you're making things quieter, okay, fine. But I'm talking about drum set at normal level. You really need to use earplugs or headphones. I have one nice pair of headphones and I have one really nice pair of earplugs that are like reusable and washable. You might have to try a couple different types to find the best, most comfortable pair of earplugs, but you can also get some really cheap ones that'll do the trick. You can go to CVS, Walmart, whatever, and get a package of those soft foam ones. And again, if you do Girls Rock or Ladies Rock, we'll show you how to put them in. You just squish them, put them in your ear, they're nice and comfortable, and that way you'll stay safe and you won't be dealing with years of ringing in your head, okay? And I don't care if nobody else in your band is wearing, no, I do care. I care very much if nobody else in your group is wearing hearing protection, but even if they're not, who cares? It's your job to protect your own ears, even if they make fun of you, okay? So just remember, if somebody teases you about protecting your hearing, you're going to be able to hear them later, and they might not be able to hear themselves making fun of you. All right, so protect your ears. Headphones are great too. That way they're harder to lose, because earplugs, I don't lose them. I'm very careful with them, but sometimes when you might have one fall on the floor or something, you don't want to have to worry about cleaning it off or getting a different one. So headphones are great. They're just a little bulkier, but make sure you get noise canceling ones though. Don't just go buy like headphones that you're supposed to use to listen to music. You got to get some like this. So these are actual like noise canceling headphones. They're made for like, if you were shooting BB guns or something else very loud, they're just meant to protect you from that. Pilots wear them in airplanes as well. Okay. That's the bulk of the stuff I wanted to talk about today. The only other thing that I didn't really get to or I didn't get to the last time that I wanted to mention was that everything I showed you on the drum set The way that it's set up for me is set up for someone who's right-handed. Okay, so granted, statistically, more people are right-handed than left-handed. Sorry, lefties. My mom's a lefty. Some of my best friends are lefties. Okay, I feel your pain and I'm sorry. Things are very often set up for right-handed people. So don't let that scare you. If you are left-handed, the biggest things that are going to change, well, everything's going to change a little bit, but basically, picture this. The things on the outsides of your drum set, so the hi-hats and your floor tom, they're just going to switch. Your snare drum is going to switch, right? It's just kind of like looking in a mirror. If you look online and you're frustrated with my videos because you're like, darn this right-handed person, I'm a left-handed person, please just Google left-handed drum setup and all your fears will be dealt with and you'll say, I can set up my drum set like this. It's going to change just the way things are done a little bit. But if you're, again, at Girls or Ladies Rock, at the beginning, one of the first things we ask is who's left-handed. Don't be shy. Just tell us you're left-handed. It's totally cool. It's awesome. It's exciting. It's different. It's no big deal. We want to make sure that you're able to play your best. And you can't do that if you're forcing your body to do something that feels backwards, okay? So just let it be known that there is a way to set things up for a lefty. And there's even some things that people do a little bit differently just because they want to. So there's not one right way to do it right-handed, and there's not one right way to do it left-handed, okay? But I just wanted to mention that because I think it's important if you're watching these videos and you feel left out, because that's not fair, all right? So I guess if you have any questions or anything like that, you could try leaving them as a comment to this video, and then I think hopefully someone from Girls Rock will see that first. You can also contact me if you like through Girls Rock. Maybe send Girls Rock an email. You know what? Send them an email. You can, I'm going to edit this part out. So if you have any questions about any of this stuff, I know this is a little different because we're doing it via video and it's not like a live lesson and I can't just jump in and answer all your questions right away. But if you leave a comment on this video, hopefully somebody from Girls Rock will be able to see it and then I can try to answer you. I'll try to keep an eye on that. No promises. I don't know exactly when this will be posted and all that type of stuff or what will be going on. But you can really find the answer to almost anything drum related on the internet really easily as well. Google is your friend. YouTube is especially your friend for drums, okay? So don't be afraid. All the information is out there, and I hope these were helpful. We'll start getting into actual playing stuff soon, but I just wanted to get you set up so you know what the heck is going on and see some of these exciting things you can collect. So thanks for watching. Support Girls Rock Campaign Boston. You can donate to them, or if you can donate to them, please do. You can support them in other ways by liking this YouTube channel, following them on Instagram, and they're on Facebook, and I think they're on Twitter. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure they're on Twitter. They are around, and they want your support, and they want to see your wonderful face in the future at an event. Okay, so this is Rainey signing off for now.
Because we're all in this now, but our dreams can come true. Sustain ourselves.